Hello and welcome to another episode of Balls and Brew, the flagship sports podcast of the Morgan You Know Podcast Network. I'm your host, Rod Morgan. With me, as always, my co-host from North Carolina. There's actually an 8.5-hour documentary that exists of his time in the studio with the Kenosha Kickers, big polk band scene for Chris King back in the day. Chris King, hello.
It's actually 9.5 hours. And hello, Internet. Hey, Rod, how's it going?
You can play that accordion like none other, my friend. Someone who can't play the accordion, but he can handicap a football game or two. Our guy from South Bend, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, Rod? What's going on?
I want to give you props. Let's start here. We talked an awful lot about the college football playoff, how it would shake out last week, and you kind of called it all, except we didn't think Alabama was going to win, and as you put it so eloquently in our group text, Bama screws everybody all the time.
Bama ruins it for everybody. Yeah, we said Notre Dame would probably be on the outside looking in, number 5. What we did get wrong was I had Oklahoma State at 4, but it came down to the last play of the game. Pretty exciting game there, and Baylor snuck it out. So, Michigan, Cincy, Bama, and Georgia make out the college football playoff.
Chris, what did you think to yourself when Oklahoma State lost that game? Were you like me? Were you starting to get some hope in the pit of your stomach? Like, oh my goodness, all right, come on, Hawkeyes.
I was thinking, hey, we're halfway there. Because essentially we were. We just needed one other team to win that we wanted to win. And, of course, we can't have nice things.
We can't have nice things. That's great. All right, let's start somewhere that we don't often start. Instead of looking back to last week, we'll do that here in a second. This is actually a huge week for all of us out there that play fantasy football. This is likely your last regular season game this week, leading into what will be the start of the fantasy playoffs. And Mr. Williams, let's start here. Bye week in week 14. That's pretty odd. That's got to be messing with some fantasy rosters in an all-important week, no?
Yeah, man, it's killer if you have Jonathan Taylor, if you have any of the Patriots running backs, they're off. If you've been fortunate to have like Devontae Smith for Philly or Jalen Waddle for Miami, all those guys are off right now, and those teams are all pretty good teams. So this whole schedule in week 14, there's a lot of big spreads here. So yeah, it's just my advice is just try and listen to or try to look into Twitter and see if there's any breaking last second news of injuries, and just try and keep ahead of the injuries, man, because every day it's like somebody's out with COVID or protocol or somebody tweak an ankle here. So just try and stay up on it as much as possible. That's all I can say, because there's a lot of different rules for a lot of different fantasy leagues out there.
Oh, yeah, Chris, absolutely. I mean, you're like me, right? Like, you figure out when the last possible time you can pick somebody up, right? And in most leagues, that's going to be a deadline at either 11 in the morning on Sunday morning, sometimes noon on Sunday, right? An hour before kickoff. And you got to be picking up guys then, right? And looking at all the information you can before you pick up guys, so you at least have somebody on your bench in case you get somebody who's a last minute out.
So yeah, typically what I do, if it's Sunday and I'm doing my last I'm picking up a kicker or a defense, and I usually put 2 or 3 bids in. So if one doesn't go through or I get outbid, I'll definitely get the second one.
That's great advice, because I believe you actually beat me in our fantasy league on one of those one week, and I ended up not having a defense or a kicker. It ultimately didn't kill me, but that happened to me, so that's great advice.
Yeah, so always make sure you have a backup plan in place, because if your first pick doesn't come through, or you get outbid, or you were low on the waiver wire list, you could be stuck, like Rod said, without a kicker or a defense. Now, if I'm going position player, chances are I'm making that move on Sunday. Or not Sunday, but Saturday.
The dead zone, as I like to call it, right? A lot of people not making pickups Saturday morning. You could sometimes snake a guy.
Yep. A lot of people go out Friday nights and don't wake up early enough, or they got other stuff to do. So you can usually sneak in and get guys that you want. The only other time I go early is if I know that a guy is not going to be playing next week and I need his backup. You got to go early on those.
Mr. Williams, let me ask you about a strategy that I've employed a time or two before, and I wonder what you think of it, and maybe this might be the week to pull it out. What I've done before is playing off a little bit of what Chris said there. He picks up a defense and a kicker on Sunday, because a lot of times, like, sure, you need points out of those positions, but let's be honest, it's not going to make or break it an awful lot. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll roster extra bench guys just to keep up with the news all throughout the week, right? Meaning I don't even have a kicker or a defense on my team until Sunday morning, when I then will cut loose a couple of guys that I determine I'm not going to play. What do you think of that strategy?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's also there's like a strategy even past that where you can, depending on who plays on Monday night and where you're at for your for your matchup. If you don't want to drop a guy, like if you love your bench, you might be able to get by like without a kicker or without a defense up until that point. You just have to keep an open spot there, and then if you do need them, then you go ahead and pick up that kicker on Monday night or that defense on Monday night. Hopefully they're not terrible, but that's also another strategy where if you really want to rack up, try and stash as many handcuff running backs as you can or whatever on your bench, and you don't want to drop anybody, that's another different strategy out there.
All right, so let's go here. Both of you guys I know play a lot of fantasy. You guys dig into the stats a little bit with fantasy the same way you do when you guys are handicapping the games. That's why I have you on here talking about these things. Give a couple of situations, maybe not a specific name, but a couple of things that you think are going to loom large over these next 3 weeks, which are going to be huge in fantasy football. Chris, let's start with you. What's something you think people need to be pay attention to that, hey, this may end up winning or losing your fantasy league?
Okay, so a couple things you got to pay attention to, and something that I do, especially on my, my wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, or my RB2 or my flex. You got to pay attention to the defensive ranking against that skill set, whether it be running backs, receiving, passing. Pay attention to those defenses' ranks against that. That's going to make or break. You're still going to play your studs, but you need those second, third guys to really perform if you plan on winning.
That's really good advice, man, because that's one of those kind of things when you've got your 2 guys playing receiver and you got your 2 guys playing running back that are your studs, you're looking to get points out of these guys. And then you got a couple of dudes on your bench that you're trying to make the decision between to be your wide receiver 3 or maybe running back 3, whichever it may be, depending on your league. And that's a really great call. That's something I don't do enough of. Mr. Williams, I know something you wanted to talk a little bit about is how just the team's schedule can then factor in huge for you in fantasy down the stretch.
Yep, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about this team, but man, do they have a killer schedule in your favor if you have anybody on that team out in Santa Clara. Listen to this fantasy schedule, week 15, 16, and 17, where most people are playing their fantasy playoffs. The Niners versus Atlanta, they're trash. At Tennessee, they haven't been good, for bits and parts of this fantasy season this year on defense. And then week 17 Super Bowl versus the Houston Texans. Man, if you've got Kittle or maybe Eli Mitchell or Debo, those guys should smash. Maybe Eli Mitchell is maybe the concussion is a little bit worse. I went out and picked up JaMychal Hasty in my league. That's kind of a deep cut there. And maybe Jeff Wilson's still out there for you. So, yeah, just looking at the schedules, too. Here's another possible deep cut. Week 16, the semifinals. We got Tampa Bay at Carolina. Carolina just fired their OC, and now they promoted the running backs coach. We know that Christian McCaffrey's out for the rest of the year. It's tough to run against Tampa, but remember, we saw Myles Gaskins versus Tampa, that Miami game. He caught like 2 wheel route patterns for touchdowns versus Tampa. Tampa really struggles defending running backs that catch the ball out of the backfield. A super sneaky pickup right now is Amir Abdullah, the backup running back for Carolina, and I don't really know if he's even a backup to Chuba, but he's the pass catching back there. So if you're lucky enough to make it to that far, he's kind of a super like sneaky like dart throw there.
I like that because you know what it comes down to. I mean, there's random names that have won fantasy playoffs many times before, but let's not focus on the random names anymore. Let's see if we can try to close here. Is there a clear-cut fantasy MVP in your eyes so far through 13 weeks, Mr. King?
I think it's got to be Jonathan Taylor. If you go to ESPN Standard Scoring League, he is averaging 21.3 points per game. He has 277 points total for the season, and that is well above other running backs. I mean, he already has surpassed whatever Derrick Henry was going to probably be able to do. I mean, maybe Henry, if he would have stayed healthy, he could be the MVP, but it's got to be Jonathan Taylor.
Mr. Williams, I think Taylor's definitely a good case. Is there anybody else we could maybe be thinking about here?
Yeah, you can make a case for average draft position since Taylor went kind of late first, early second. I was hoping to get him at the 16th pick in my draft. He went 14th to our friend Corey Nance, who's a guest potter on here. I would throw out Cooper Kupp. I was able to get him maybe like round 5 or 6, and he's been tearing it up. My thought on that process was Cam Akers was out for the year, and Stafford coming in had to learn a whole new offense. His safety blanket, I thought, was going to be Cooper Kupp. Now, I didn't think he was going to have this good a year, but I thought he was going to have a really good year. So I would throw in Cooper Kupp, but man, you can't argue against Jonathan Taylor. He's just been unbelievable this year.
All right, well, I want to nominate Fantasy Bust and see if you guys agree with me. Can we name Kyle Pitts, the tight end for the Atlanta Falcons, Fantasy Bust? I mean, my goodness, that guy was going in top 2 rounds, I would think, maybe even top 3 rounds at time. Well, probably not the first round, but he was probably second or third tight end taken, and I don't believe that the production has quite warranted how much money I had to pay for him in an auction and where some people drafted him, I bet, Mr. Williams.
No, I disagree. Because I have him on my team, and he's still a top 10 tight end, and the rest of the tight end position stinks this year.
There's no doubt that tight end is way down. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And I don't consider that Kyle Pitts' fault. I consider that, Calvin Ridley leaving in the middle of the year, and they just don't have anybody. Everybody's been doubling Pitts. I mean, that's the whole strategy for every opposing team. They just double Pitts, except for the Jets. The Jets weren't smart enough to figure that out when they went over to London, but everybody else just doubles Pitts. And that's why Cordell Patterson has had such a great year. But, I mean, even Pitts has had a terrible year, really, and he's still a top 10 tight end. So,
all right. Well, who's the bust then? Are we Baker Mayfield? Maybe was he drafted higher than he should have? He hasn't produced. Are we talking? Who do you think?
Russell Wilson.
Russ is a good candidate.
That's injury.
If you're going injury, McCaffrey's up there.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, he hasn't looked good since he came back.
Could we even go Josh Allen? I mean, some people thought Josh Allen was going to end up putting up a Patrick Mahomes kind of scoring season, and he certainly is not doing that.
I mean, he started off the year well, though. Like, he started off the year real well, but the last, 5-6 weeks, not so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talked about a rookie, Kyle Pitts there. We had a rookie quarterback, the 5th quarterback taken in the draft last year, throw 3 passes on a Monday Night Football game. And Mr. Williams, let's just start there. If I told you that happened for a team, would you predict win or loss?
Well, it depends. It depends on who's coaching. I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers here because I'm talking to 2 Colts fans, but I got to ask you guys, is that a top 5 Belichick coaching performance of all time?
Oh, I mean, it's so hard for me to pick any other game, not a Colt game where he just ripped my heart out. So, I mean, again, like you said, just such a biased audience. But, I mean, I think you gotta go a couple of the Super Bowls, right? I mean, a couple of those Belichick Super Bowls have to go down as some of his masterful coach games. But, yeah, that was some serious Belichick in that game.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Chris.
My question is, I thought it was pretty obvious that all you wanted to do was run the ball. I couldn't believe that Buffalo kept trying to pass it.
Well, they had 10-man fronts, though. I mean, what else did you want them to do on defense? I mean, New England's still running on a 10-man front.
Yeah, I know. That was the type of game it was going to be. You got 40-mile-an-hour crosswinds. You're not going to be able to throw accurately.
I don't know, man. I'm going to stick up for my boy Josh. A couple of times he threw a ball on a line a couple of times in that game. Like, he's such a strong arm. Like, he was throwing against the wind a couple of times. I don't know, man. I'm not going to completely put it on that. Sure, the Bills should have run more, but you got to have some toughness. You're at your home stadium. That's Bills football, and you got punched in the mouth.
That's why you run the ball and you punch them in the mouth back. You don't throw the ball 30 times in that situation.
They can't run. What do you want them to give it to Moss, to Singletary? They can't run the football. Mr. Williams, back me up here.
I just thought it was. I just thought it was awesome. Belichick's wearing the Navy COVID mask before the game. Man, it was like, was he trolling everybody? Like when Buffalo had the wind to their back, they didn't play with tempo. That was wrong. You didn't have any RPO runs for Allen. I thought that was surprising. And it was just like a soft, modern spread team versus like a throwback 1940s. We're going to run the single wing offense the entire game team. And I just love the two clashes of different polar opposite offenses in a crazy wind element game. Just they couldn't stop New England's run game. It didn't even matter, how many were in the box. Belichick was like, we're just going to run it down your throats and you're going to take it.
Yeah, that's what Belichick does, and the Colts, they're gonna fall prey to Belichick here in a couple of weeks, and a Belichick disciple who is gonna come up in one of Chris's prop bets, who took out my Colts last week, because of course he did, right? Tom Brady beats the Colts all the time, so why in the world wouldn't Tom Brady beat the Colts? So once again, rah rah rah. No, not that week. The couple weeks back, excuse me. Colts beat the Texans last week. That's how nondescript that Colts Texans game was. I forgot they even played it. How about that, Mr. Williams? That's my thought on last week. I literally forgot the Colts played a football game versus the Texans. How about that?
Hey, they took care of business, though, and both teams coming off byes next week. I can't wait next week's pod to talk about this game, man. Baby, it's going to be a good one.
Well, good if you want to hear me whine and moan and complain and all of the above, because you know what? I'm just going to do this now. So, of course, Brady beat the Colts because he always beat the Colts. And, of course, Belichick is going to beat the Colts. So, I mean, is Peyton Manning the quarterback for the Colts? Are we in some sort of time vortex? I mean, when in the world are my beloved Indianapolis Colts going to be able to solve the puzzle that is Bill Belichick or Tom Brady? I mean, Brady's in another conference and he's still messing up our playoff chances, man. Bill Belichick has a rookie quarterback and he's still messing us up. It's out of control, Chris. I can't take much more of Brady or Belichick beating us. How about you?
I mean, I'm with you. I don't like losing either one of them, but you got to root for Tampa Bay this week because you need the Bills to lose if you still want the Colts to make it in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I don't think the Bills are going to fall back far enough to still be in the muck with the Colts, are they, Mr. Williams? Are they going to fall back that far?
They're already there.
Bills still have to play at Tampa this week. They still have another game at New England, and they have a tricky game against Carolina. So, it's not a given that Buffalo makes the playoffs. Plus, they lose the tiebreaker on the Colts.
Yeah, if they lose this game, they have the same exact record as the Colts. Same way with Cincinnati. If Cincinnati loses this week, they got the same exact record as the Colts.
I just don't like the Colts' chances in that Patriots game, and that'll put us right at 500. But I guess if everybody else keeps losing, like we've talked about in the AFC, man, mediocrity. Or is it that everybody's just pretty good? Which is it? You know what I mean? Is it the Chiefs are rounded into form after a rough start and they're actually the cream of the crop? Or is it that New England's this good? Mr. Williams, come on, sort the AFC out for us now. We're 13 weeks in.
Oh man, I'm so pumped for that game next week. I know that you probably think that the Patriots are going to be favored by like double digits, but that look ahead
will be favored by double digits. It'll be 4.5.
Now that look ahead, you want me to tell you what the look ahead line is?
Tell me.
Patriots -1.
What?
And
That's insane.
I think it should be Colts -1.
That's insane. Who in the world thinks that the Colts are going to beat Bill Belichick with Carson Wentz at quarterback? Who in the world thinks that? Show me that guy, and I'm going to sell him some oceanfront property in Arizona.
I'm telling you, I was gonna wait for next week for this, but I think it could be a preview of the AFC Championship. I really do.
What?
The Colts are freaking good, man. I don't know what I can tell you more about.
Keep handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, and you will keep winning games.
Yeah, they are good.
Okay, all right. Listen, you know what? Then, if the Colts are so good, they've been this good the whole entire year with me talking them down the entire time of this podcast. So we might as well keep that mojo going because I just don't see it. Like I understand that there's talent on the team, but they're too close to my heart, I guess, and I see the mistake right around the corner every time that then just cripples the team and in the game.
Let's be honest, Rod. The one thing that you love to do more than anything else is really hate the teams that you love.
I suppose it is a bit of my lifeblood, and that's what it is. But you know what? I'm gonna stop hating the team that I love, and I'm gonna hate the team that you love a little bit later. But we'll get there. Let's start officially with picks for Week 14. Mr. Williams, what did you go last week?
I went 2-1 last week, and then won the outright upset pick of the week also. So decent week.
There we go. So we're back above 500. So we're rolling here as we're approaching the playoffs. What do you got for your first pick? You're taking us to a classic AFC North game.
Yeah, this was one of the best games last year. If you remember, the Browns and Ravens on a Monday night was a pretty unbelievable game. But these two teams played a couple weeks ago, and it was a pretty terrible game. So we'll see what happens this week. I'm going to take Cleveland -2.5. You can find that on FanDuel -110. A lot of stuff here. Stefanski is 9-1 straight up following a loss. There's no Marlon Humphrey for Baltimore in this game, which is huge. The Browns are coming off a bye. The Ravens are coming off a physical, emotional, close loss on the road versus their arch rivals and the Steelers. And I think that the Ravens stacked the box this last game against the Browns. I think Stefanski makes adjustments and passes the ball a little bit more here. Baker with play action, his rating is 23 points higher. And in the last meeting, the Browns on first down, when they threw the ball, they averaged 7.2 yards. When they ran the ball, they only averaged 1.7. And since week 7, the Ravens are 28th in EPA pass defense. All 5 of their corners were limited in practice this week. That was kind of one of the big reasons why the Ravens went for 2 on that last play of the game. I'm usually for analytics. I really didn't agree with that call, but
I loved it, Harbaugh. Go for it every time, man. Stop putting the game in these kickers' feet and let's win some football elsewise.
Yeah, but you got the best kicker in the NFL history on your team too. So, but I'm usually for the better team. Taking it into overtime. I thought the Ravens were the better team, but the Ravens are an analytical team, so I can't really knock them too much there. Remember, this Browns coaching staff has had 3 weeks to prepare for this Ravens game. This is a super weird, quirky scheduling that the NFL did. The Browns played at the Ravens 2 weeks ago. Then they had a bye last week, and now they're playing the Ravens again. So that's a huge advantage for Cleveland. Baltimore gives up more than 10 yards per catch to running backs. There's been rumors out of Cleveland that they could use both Chubb and Hunt on the field at the same time, as some of the Browns tight ends
nice. That's some real Madden stuff right there, man. Two running back, and you sub in your second running back that you paid a bunch of, or manipulated through trades or whatnot, and you got 2 superstars back there. That's great stuff.
Yeah, I hope they do it because the Browns tight ends are a bit banged up right now. Njoku and Harrison Bryant. So, and you got like you said, you got 2 of the best running backs in the league. So might as well put them back there at the same time. And if you look since week 7, if you look at a certain metric that merges EPA per play plus completion percentage above expectation, Lamar has been the second worst in the league in that category, ahead of only Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean the conversation about Lamar has definitely shifted, right? We were singing Lamar's praises earlier this year on this very podcast after his performance versus the Colts, and he has certainly not played that well as things have stretched on. So I think this is going to be a good game. There's a lot of bad games out there in the NFL this week, so this is actually going to be a good game. So, and it might be on locally here, considering Cleveland pops up in the local market every once in a while. So maybe I'll be able to catch that one.
Yeah, with the Colts off, this should be. I would think it would be on local. Yeah, Lamar hasn't been good against versus the blitz this year either. He's actually had more picks than touchdowns versus the blitz. Ravens.
That's not going to win you a whole lot of games.
No. Ravens 29th in offensive line yards, and they've actually had the 4th easiest schedule of run defenses. 29% more of the money is on the Browns compared to the tickets written for this game. So yeah, I'll take Cleveland -2.5 here. All the signs point towards them.
All right. Well, Mr. King, there was a lot of different stats in there, and I know you're a stat monster, and you got a prop off of this game, so I'm interested to see which one of those you're feeding on.
So he actually led into some of the stuff what makes me think this is going to be actually high-scoring game. I don't think that Baltimore's going to be able to slow down Cleveland, and I don't believe in Cleveland's defense enough to really slow down Baltimore. So I see a lot of points. I see a lot of scoring. I see a lot of passing. And I see Lamar Jackson getting back on top. because you can get the over of 230.5 pass yards, minus 120 at BetMGM. I think that's easy money.
Wow, yeah, I do. That does strike me as a little low. But if we get into another, knockdown, just physical war like these teams often have sometimes, that might be tough to get. So there you go. I like that. That's a lot of information about that game. And like you said, with the Colts being off, I have a feeling a lot of folks in Indiana may be checking that one out. Let's go to a game that I bet is Mr. King's local game, and that's what you have for your second pick, isn't it, Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I got Atlanta and Carolina. We're going to go under 21 in the first half here. I think we're 3-0 on going under first halves this year, and I actually think this was one of them like 5 weeks ago. We mentioned it earlier. Matt Rule came out and fired Joe Brady, offensive coordinator. I honestly was shocked with that. I think that's a bad move. I think he'll have a job pretty quickly here. But who does he hire? He hires Jeff Nixon, the running backs coach, and his old buddy from Baylor. Carolina's going to run the ball here. It's pretty obvious. It's going to be a ground and pound game. Last time they played Carolina, again, they shadowed Pitts, and it worked. Carolina can get pressure. Both of these teams play kind of at a middling pace. Like I said before, no CMC. I don't know about you, but double-digit handoffs to Chuba Hubbard in the first half smells like an under to me.
But that smells like fantasy gold for somebody who was smart enough to pick up Chuba Hubbard this week.
Carolina coming off the bye. You've got Matt Ryan playing outdoors. He tends to not play that great outdoors, especially in December. Carolina top 2 pressure rate. And the first time these two teams matched up, Matt Ryan had 20 completions for 146 yards. So he's really not throwing the ball down the field. That's a lot of short completions that runs the clock. So I like the first half.
So you're saying, now listen, I came around on the bolo tie, but what you're telling me here is that Matt Ryan is starting to look a little bit like late career bolo tie, huh? Is that what you're telling me? Not real able to get the ball down the field?
Yeah, that's what it's been like so far in Atlanta. Atlanta's, man, they've just been a complete disaster. You asked like who the biggest fantasy disappointment was this year. Who the biggest NFL team disappointment has been this year? Atlanta's got to be up there.
Absolutely. And listen, Calvin Ridley, if you listen to this podcast, and bless you if you do, yeah, I hope you are well and things are going good with whatever situation you need to take care of. But that's a bit of a fantasy bust right there, too. Anybody who had him, he's been gone for quite a few weeks.
Yeah. I also got 2 more quick things here. It's kind of weird. Since 2003, divisional unders at 1 p.m. after week 10, so excluding the last week of the year when starters rest, they're 227, 142, and 8. That's a 62% winning clip. And then divisional unders outdoors, 159, 92, and 6. That's a 63% winning clip. The reason I took the first half under, feels like there's always some shenanigans with Falcons games late. So I'll stick with the first half under here.
Mr. King, how excited are you to watch that in your local market this weekend?
I would slam the unders on all of this game. I almost took Atlanta under 20.5 total points. I don't think they get more than 16, maybe, at most. So it's going to be a slow, drawn-out game. Carolina's going to run the ball, like William said. So, yeah, slam those unders.
All right, well, we talked an awful lot about the Bills before, so let's not belabor this, but let's get your second prop out of the way here, Mr. King, because I know it involves the Bills versus Tom Brady, who I also spent a little bit of time on.
Yeah, so I thought this was a little bit crazy. We've been talking about Josh Allen not playing so well lately. He's going have definitely better conditions this time around than he did last week. So if he does throw it 30 or more times, he should be able to complete more passes. But I'm still going to take the under of 291.5 passing yards. That's minus
How dare you? How dare you? I feel like this is some fantasy chicanery on your part because you need me to lose in our league and it will help you. And that's my quarterback. So you're putting some mojo out here, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know. Listen, I'm not doing well in my props, so I would fade these bets anyway. So it's probably looking good for you if I'm taking the under.
All right, I'll take that. Mr. Williams, I'm excited that you are bringing up a team. Oh, do you got something else on this? Go ahead.
Yeah, Tampa Bay blitzes at a league-high 39% rate. Surprisingly, Josh Allen outside the top 25 in completion rate and yards per pass attempt when he's blitzed this year.
Really? I'm surprised by that because you think of him as a tough guy who can shrug things off and a guy who can move a little bit. I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, plus you got emotional short rest for Buffalo also. But there is some late money coming in on the Bills here, so I was kind of torn on that game. But yeah, it should be interesting. I don't know if Buffalo's going to be able to run the ball that much on Tampa, so that's the only concern with that one.
I'm going to say Buffalo's not going to be able to run the football because they've not been able to run the football this entire year, and nobody in fantasy wants any part of any Bills running back. And I know that sounds crazy, but it actually kind of sort of means something in the long run as well. Let's move on to your third and final pick, Mr. Williams, because this is something I've been meaning to bring up for a little while. We like to bring up old takes every now and again. When I say we, I mean me. Most of the time, I'll even bring up some of my own bad takes, but I believe we had a Danny Dimes appreciation fest on an early episode of Balls and Brew, and you were talking up this New York Giants football team that looks absolutely terrible now. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say for yourself and for this game here as your final pick.
Yeah, we ripped on Freddie Kitchens. More so, it was ripping on Freddie Kitchens last year or 2 years ago when he was a head coach. He's actually not terrible as an OC, but as a head coach, some of his game management decisions were just terrible. But yeah, the reason why we're talking about the Giants here, and we really haven't talked about them much this year, is they're getting 10 points against the Chargers out in LA. I'm going to take the
Giants. Which is insane. I'm with you right there. I'm just real quick. I'm with you right there. No, nobody should give the Chargers 10 points ever because the Chargers are such a roller coaster team.
Yeah, 5 out of the 6 home games for the Chargers this year have been decided by one score, and you can put home games in quotation because we both know that there's a lot of New York transplants that live out in LA. So it's arguably that the Giants are going to have more fans out there than the Chargers. And if you go back to that model from a couple weeks ago, remember it worked pretty well. Teams coming off and against the spread loss versus teams coming off and against the spread win. Those teams tend to cover more often than not, more than a 70% clip rate this year. That model factors into the Giants this week. So Giants plus 10. Yeah, and so the Giants D, 5 out of their last 6 games, they've held their opponents to 20 points or less. And now they're getting to play the Chargers without Keenan Allen on the other side. And Big Mike Williams might be out also. And remember, last year, the Giants went out to Seattle right about this time last year as double-digit dogs and ended up getting the victory. So not uncommon for the Giants to play well on the road. So I like them here plus 10.
All right. I think that's a pretty good pick, too, as I let my thoughts be known there with my Chargers dig. But, Chris, I want to ask you a question here. So I gave Mr. Williams a chance to answer for his Danny Dimes love that he threw out earlier this year, and he completely chose to sidestep that. Did you notice that like I did?
Yeah, I think that's kind of unacceptable at this point.
I mean, you remember that like I do, right? Like, I mean, I even remember pushing back against him, and he's like, no, Rod, I'm telling you, he's pretty good. And then, I mean, where are we at now?
Not pretty good. I will say this, though. I do want the Giants to win, because then that puts the Chargers at 7-6 and gives the Colts even more chance to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Mr. Williams, I mean, last chance. I mean, am I misremembering the Danny Dimes stuff? Am I coloring it a little wrong? I mean, your last chance here. You told people that Danny Dimes was a future Hall of Famer, didn't you?
No, man, he's been hurt. I mean, he's way better fantasy quarterback than regular quarterback. So,
all right, that's fair enough. That's an apt description. That's an apt description.
He has not had a good year. I will say that.
All right. Well, we got your 3 picks. We got the Baltimore-Cleveland game. You went with the Browns there, right?
Yeah, correct. Browns minus 2.5.
All right, and then you got the under 21 in the Carolina-Atlanta game, and then you're taking first half. Yep, that's right. First half under 21 points total, and then you got the Giants minus 10 or plus 10. Which one is it? What the Giants are getting 10, right?
Yeah, Giants plus 10. Yep.
All right, there we go. All right, so Mr. King, then we got your prop in the Baltimore-Cleveland game. We got your prop in the Bills-Bucks game, and your prop in the final game. And I guess you're getting a prop in this game because there's no earthly reason to watch it other than that.
Right. Let's give some of these teams some love, and it's the Saints and the Jets. And listen, I am a Taysom Hill fan. I watched him play for many years now, and the kid plays with heart. But
yeah, it's when you were doing tile out when he was playing his college ball, right? That's when you were grouting tile.
Among other things, I installed many different types of flooring. We'll just put it that way. But I don't see him getting over 187.5 passing yards. The Jets have looked decent at times. Maybe not a whole game, but at times. I think they can play pretty well. I know Taysom Hill's going to run more because he's going to have to stay alive. And I don't see him getting over that 187.5 passing yards. So I'd take the under, and that's minus 115 at DraftKings.
And what Mr. Williams just said there about Danny Dimes as well sort of applies to Taysom Hill, except for one negative factor, right? Like, he would have had a good fantasy game for somebody who would have played him last week if not for the 4 picks. You know what I mean? You get so many negative points for the 4 picks that it just wasn't there.
Yeah, no. You can't turn the ball over.
But, I mean, getting a rushing, those rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, I mean, Mr. Williams, our interceptions is killer in your league.
Yeah, they're -2 in our league also, and I like that. I like that prop by Chris because Deontay Harris is out for the Saints, and it seemed like once the Hill got the injury to his middle finger, they just decided to scrap the passing plays and just decided for him to run the ball a ton in the second half. So they got Kamara back this week, so I think they're just going to run the heck out of the ball against the Jets here. So I like that underpassing prop for Hill.
All right, you like that prop. Chris hopes that his props will pay off this week. We get adversarial on this podcast sometimes, but all in good fun. And so this week for my outright upset pick, the Hot Rod Upset Special, I'm going right in Chris's kitchen. Give me the Washington football team over the Dallas Cowboys. Why? I'm just going to play on recent history here. The Washington football team made the playoffs last year to everybody's chagrin, right? They had Alex Smith on a completely repaired leg. He then couldn't play most of the playoff game. The Skins were still there. They won games nobody expected them to win. They made the playoffs. Looks like Ron Rivera might have the Redskins on the way to doing that again. And what else did the Cowboys do in recent history? Lose football games that mean something to them and are big football games. Not big playoff games because they don't play many of those recently, but big regular season games. The Cowboys choke. Give me the Washington football team. Mr. King, your retort.
I got lots of things to say here. I do think that line that they have it as 4.5 points is a bit high. However, I think Dallas wins this game. A few reasons. The biggest is Washington does not score that many points. They have scored 100 less points than what the Cowboys have this year. They have given up almost 100 more points than what the Cowboys, or not 100, but 45 more points than what the Cowboys have this year. I just
wait a minute, not 100, but 45. What kind of rounding up are you doing on some of your numbers?
Hey, I caught my own mistake. Relax. And I got a little bit of a hot take. I know a lot of people like Rivera. I know he's the gambler. I just see him as a future Steve Fisher.
Wow, look at just going old college basketball reference, just showing your age right there. Steve Fisher. I wonder how many of the kids out there know what you're talking about here with the Steve Fisher reference. I know Mr. Williams does because you're right in his kitchen with college basketball, and he's going to come on here in a second. But I wonder how many other people, when Chris said Steve Fisher, knew what he was talking about, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, probably not too many. That's funny. Yeah, I think the 4.5 is a bit too high, but Dallas is getting healthy on the defensive side of the football. This one's tough, man. I could see it going either way.
So my outright upset pick is not too crazy in your eyes this week, huh? Kind of like my one last week where I said Jacksonville is going to beat the Rams.
Yeah, that one was a little out there, but yeah, I think Washington's been playing pretty well lately, and yeah, anything can happen in these NFC East rivalry games.
All right. Well, you won your upset pick last week. It was not as crazy as mine. Do you have one this week, Mr. Williams?
I don't see a ton of value on the board here. I really thought about taking the Jets, but with Kamara back, I don't like that one as much. So I actually have a future kind of plus odds pick here.
I love futures. As you know, the actual only bet I have made anytime in the last 2 years since we have done this gambling podcast are 3 future NBA bets.
Yeah, and this one might be surprising to both of you. I'm going to go Ravens to miss the playoffs at plus 350. And
you tipped your hand on this a little bit earlier. But I kind of like that bet, I guess, right now, because I think I heard Bill Simmons say this real quick. Let me just say this, Mr. Williams, and then you can go.
Yeah.
At some point in the NFL, you reach a tipping point with injuries, and the Ravens could be there.
Yeah, and the one thing you don't want your coach to say at the end of the game is, yeah, we basically won for 2 because we didn't have any corners left, and that's really not great when you got a schedule like the Ravens coming up. Take a look at the schedule. You face Cleveland, just a terrible spot for them and a great spot for Cleveland coming off the bye. But then the next 3 games after that, listen to these offenses: versus Green Bay, at Cincinnati, and versus the Rams. And then you close the season out versus the Steelers, which could be Big Ben's last game ever. So that's a tough schedule.
God,
here.
we can only hope. We can only hope that's Big Ben's last game ever.
That's a tough schedule, man. And I think plus 350 is some good value there. The Ravens just seem lost. Smoke and mirrors earlier in the year. They were a 1 seed a couple weeks ago, and I think they could miss the playoffs.
Wow, Chris, you were talking Lamar Jackson up earlier, and here Mr. Williams coming out and saying, nah, Chris doesn't know what he's talking about. I think the Ravens are going to really start choking on their own applesauce. And I agree with that, actually. I don't like the Ravens much the rest of this year, but you give Ravens fans one last ditch of hope here before we say goodbye.
I mean, the thing that hurts the Ravens the most is that they're literally, I think, 1-2 in their division there. And Cincinnati's 3-1. So, like, if they end up with the same record, Cincinnati's going to have that tiebreaker. But
so there you go, Ravens fans. That's some hope. What are we talking about here? Come on.
But I still have faith in Lamar Jackson.
So you're basically just saying, in Lamar we trust. That's basically what you're saying here.
You got to right now. You got to give him the ball. You got to watch him make plays, and he's going to have to outscore the other team's offense. And he has the talent to do it.
All right, there we go. Mr. Williams, any final words before we say goodbye on this? Hopefully Jimmy's wonderful editing will make no one ever see him, but we had a bit of recording issues as we went along on this one. Any last words?
I mean, the NFL should have flexed out Bears and Packers, but that's pretty obvious.
I wondered if that was going to come up. That's so why I went to you. That's why I love that we now know we know the tendencies. I knew that's where you would go.
I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to watch, San Fran at Cincy instead? 2 teams playing for their playoff lives and 2.
Hey, wait a minute. What did you just say?
I know. Okay, so the team out west coming east playing against Cincinnati. It's a rematch of the '81 Super Bowl and the '88 Super Bowl. Both teams fighting for their lives for a playoff spot. Both fun offenses too. Who wouldn't want to watch that instead of? We get it. That's the longest rivalry in NFL history. We get it. But the Bears stink, and they don't deserve to be on prime time. And the Bears have another primetime game after this against the Vikings.
Oh, the Vikings! The Vikings just lost to the Lions. That game better be flexed out.
No, it's Monday night. It can't be flexed out. So you know who's probably flexing out of that? The Manning brothers. They're probably flexing out of that game.
That's awesome. You know what else you just did? Oh, excuse me. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say that Cincinnati game, though, that makes me want to do the icky shuffle.
Yeah, see, I was about to go there as well. You know what you just did, Mr. Williams? At the beginning of this podcast, I made a reference to Home Alone, and you just brought up the Super Bowl between the Bengals and the Niners, which has the famous scene where Joe Montana gets in the huddle before the big game-winning drive, and he says, hey, that's John Candy over there.
Oh, man, yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. And you could have had... Dude, it would have worked out perfectly because you got Chris Collinsworth calling the game in Cincinnati. Like, I can't believe the NFL dropped the ball on that.
But if you want to talk about Super Bowl, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but we all know where we're headed for the Super Bowl. We all know we are headed with Brady v. Belichick. Come on, you know that's where we're headed.
That's going to give the conspiracy theorists so much stuff to talk about because, of course, the NFL wants Brady versus Belichick in the Super Bowl.
And if we're not headed there, we're headed to Packers v. Patriots. And then that's going to be, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is a diva and has behaved abhorrently this year, but he might be the NFL MVP and is playing in the Super Bowl.
Oh, man, if the Packers make the Super Bowl, that's just yuck.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Like, you can't deny Aaron Rodgers' play on the field, but like, you just think to yourself, man, yuck with Aaron Rodgers is just a great description of it, Mr. Williams.
I'm kicking myself too because like when the Pats were like 1-4, I was thinking about betting them against the Bucks in the Super Bowl. I didn't pull the trigger, so kicking myself right now.
All right, good odds on that. Well, let's get out of here before we have any more issues. A lively Balls and Brew, as always. Thank you so much to all of you out there for listening. Thank you so much to Mr. Jamriska for producing. Mr. Williams, thank you for your wonderful handicapping as always. Mr. King, you're the best. I'll let you get back to your Kenosha Kickers practice. What's the final word?
Goodbye, Internet.